Hello, you've reached the office of Field McConnell. It's the 7th of November of 2018. How can I accommodate you, sir, madam, or whoever you might be?
Hi, Field. How are you?
Oh, I recognize your voice, Mrs. Blattle. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. Um,
Good.
let's talk about call signs today. Are you there? Did I lose you? Oh, I lost you.
Am I back?
Yes, you're back. Okay.
Yeah, sometimes my phone conversations get interfered with because there's people in the deep state, the cabal, the Khazarian mafia, and the New World Order that wish I'd shut the fuck up. And I don't know if you wanted to record that. You can edit it out, because here we are in November of 2018, and we have the ability to edit. But no, in the military aviation ranks around the world, there is a word known as, well, the word is brevity, brevity, and when things are happening quickly that are significant, for instance, if there was an F4 or an F-16 going 1,200 miles an hour towards a unknown flying vehicle, the communications have to be quick and effective. So therefore, individual participants are given call signs, and on many occasions they will be call signs generated by the respective military branch for which they're flying, whether it's the UK, the French, the Russians, the South Koreans, the Saudi Arabians, or the Americans. And when I was flying as an air defense pilot in F-4 Phantoms and F-16s later, I had call signs. But now that you know why we have to have, and I didn't say it, so I can't expect you to know it. The reason we needed to have call signs is so during certain missions, instead of being called NODAC 02, and that I was frequently NODAK, NODAC, which was short for North Dakota, because I was in the North Dakota Air National Guard, and I was very frequently NODAC 02. And I can explain that later, but I'm preparing for this upcoming opportunity to speak in Dallas at Operation Classified on the 9th, 10th, and 11th of November of this year, 2018. So I don't want to slow down, but in addition to our official Air Force generated call signs, each individual pilot in any of these tactical flying units would have a personal call sign. And when I flew F-4 Phantoms, my personal call sign was Plunger, Plunger. And then when 13 years later, when I went to the F-16, we were asked to come up with new call signs for ourselves, and I thought that was vastly immature and perhaps egocentric. So I asked my 7-year-old son, Cole, C-O-L-E, I said, hey, Cole, I have to get a new call sign, and I refuse to do it. But maybe because you're 7, you'd be willing to pick between the 3 words that I'm going to suggest to you, and those 3 words would be cream, cheese, and smoke. And so my son selected one of those 3 words to be my call sign in the F-16. So now that I've given you that background, Mrs. Gladys, would you like to ask me any more questions?
Oh, well, I just find it really funny that your call sign used to be plunger, given the fact that we're in the Q days and Trump's in office now, and everybody's saying drain the swamp because there's tons of memes going around with big plungers. So I just find that really funny.
Well, can I tell you how that came about?
Yes, please.
Okay. I believe it was in September or October of 1986, but I'm not going to swear to that because, I'm older now. 1986 was 22 years ago, roughly. Maybe it was 32, but if we're in 2018 and it's 86, it was a long time ago. But anyway, one day we being the North Dakota Air National Guard, pilots, backseaters, and maintenance people, and of the three groups, the pilots, the backseaters, and the maintenance people, the most significant people, I believe, it's my personal opinion, the most significant people were the maintenance people because they prepared and maintained our aircraft to be lethal. But we were having a get-together, and strangely enough, the get-together was in my room of a hotel equivalent. Oh, my alarm is going off. Hang on. Yeah, I set my alarm sometimes a couple times a day if I have significant pains. Are you still there?
I'm
Mrs.
still
Gladys?
here. I'm still here, Field.
Yeah. Well, see, I was hosting this party, and that means simply I was providing the room. And it's like a hotel room that's connected to another hotel room on a military base. And the only thing that connects them is a shared bathroom, as in a shower and a commode, okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, anyway, during this party where we were having abundant beverages, suddenly I became overwhelmed with the urge to go sit down and not void my bladder, but void the other container. And so what I did is I locked myself in the adjoining bathroom and I unloaded a large dose of bad oysters because, see, we've been down there in Panama City, Florida, eating oysters and drinking beer, and in certain months, you can see where this is going next. So when I got done, no, this is all serious.
I know, because there's that red, what is it called? We get it here in British Columbia. It's called,
You mean if you eat bad seafood?
Yes, but there's certain months of the year that you can't eat it because there's I can't remember what it's called. It's called red something, and it's a bacteria that's more prominent in the water certain times of the year, and you can't eat it because it will give you...
What did we eat? Oh, things are goner. What are you doing? It's coming out of me like lava. We've done too much. Look at me.
Yeah, well, down in Florida, now I'm talking about Panama City, Florida, the adage, ADAGE, was don't eat oysters in months that have an R in them, like September, October, November.
Exactly. Yeah. I can't remember what it's called. I'll have to look it up. I'll remember it later. But
anyway, I had a bunch of bad oysters, and suddenly during this social gathering of a bunch of fighter pilots and fighter pilot supporters, I felt like I needed to go to the bathroom really bad. So I went in and I locked the door between the bathroom and my room, and I delivered a quantity of used oysters, and then I flushed the toilet. Are you with me so far?
Yeah, I'm sorry to laugh.
Well, guess what happened next? The toilet overflowed. So now, what's happening, I'm still locked in the bathroom, so nobody can get in. And I'm the only one in there, so nobody can get out except me. But, I'm sitting there. I'm not sitting any longer. I'm standing up, and I'm realizing, the toilet's overflowing with these used oysters. And so I somehow got the toilet to stop overflowing. And because I didn't want to be associated with this, I went out through the door to the other half of the bedroom suite because the other guy, whoever he was not there. So I let myself out the door, but before I went out the door into his room to escape, I unlocked the door to the bathroom, and then I beat feet. I hastily egressed from the bathroom where there was a lot of stuff floating on the floor. Okay? Oh, it's really funny. But the next day I was going to go out and fly, and so it's amazing how quickly interesting information gets around. But the next day when I took my F-4 out to fly with the live missiles, shooting at drones, they used to have something called an EOR inspection. That's end of runway. And at the end of the runway, right before you took off, the people from maintenance would arm your missiles and pull the safety pins, which eliminated, prior to pulling the safety pins, you could not pull the trigger and launch a missile on the ground. But once they pulled the safety pins at the EOR end of runway checks, your missiles were now hot, meaning you pull the trigger and something's going to happen.
Yeah.
But when the maintenance guys came out from underneath my aircraft after making my missiles lethal, they held up several items. They held up the pins to 4 missiles, and they held up a plunger. And what they were doing was they were saying, "Hey, Field, we remember yesterday that your toilet overflowed, and you needed a plunger." And that's where my call sign came from in the F-4. And then later on, when I flew the F-16, my plunger call sign was put into retirement, and I was asked to come up with another one. And that's, which at age 40, I thought, this is really immature. And how can I, and it's also egocentric. How in the world am I going to assign myself a call sign? So I didn't do it. I asked my 7-year-old son, Cole. Cole was born in 1983, so that's now been 17, it's been a long time ago. But I said to my son Cole at age 7, I said, I need to come up with a new call sign to fly the F-16, and I refused to do it. But, and I always have trouble because 2 of the names start with C. One of them's cream, and I think one of them's cheese, and the third one was smoke. And I said, of those 3 words, Cole, which call sign do you think makes the most sense? Cream, cheese, or smoke? And he said, smoke. I said, okay, well, that's it. I'll be smoke, and that's the call sign I used when I flew the F-16s for the last 3 years of my flying career. And what I think is rather an ironic or interesting anecdote is that when I was no longer in the Air National Guard, and I came flying into Fargo in a Northwest Airlines DC-9 where I was the captain of the flight, the not the Air National Guard controllers, the tower controllers or the approach controllers at Fargo said, I'm going to say Northwest 28, which is not accurate, but, whoever. The tower controller landing full stop to runway 35, and you are 6 miles behind an F-16 whose call sign is smoke. And I'm not making this up. I said to the air traffic controller, I said, who would have been physically located in the tower cab, that's what it's called, up there at the top of the tower where all the glass is, that's called the tower cab.
Yeah.
I said to the controller in the tower cab, I said, did you say the F-16 in front of me 6 miles is smoke? And they said, yes. I said, no, he's not. He said, I said, my name is Field McConnell, and I was smoke in the North Dakota Air National Guard. So whoever this clown is trying to live up to my legacy, and he is not smoke. I am. Well, anyway, the tower guy didn't want to go there, but it turns out, I'm trying to be polite now, years later, but it turns out the guy that had decided he should be smoked since I was gone, it was the squadron commander of the F-16 unit. Oh. So if that's not a backhanded compliment, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Because,
yeah.
Well, I was not widely respected because of the way I did business. Because the way I did business was like Paul Anka and Frank Sinatra, and the guy who wrote the song, which was Paul Anka, Paulanka, Paul Anka, who was a Lebanese Canadian, he wrote the song My Way.
Yeah.
And see, when I flew for the North Dakota Air National Guard, I did things my way. I didn't do them the conventional way. If they asked me to go out and do something, I'd go out and do it, and I'd get it done, and I'd do it my way. And if they didn't like it, well, tough beans.
Yeah.
But I find it really a tribute that the squadron commander on that day in history, when I was in a DC-9 Northwest airliner landing in Fargo, the squadron commander of the F-16 unit had adopted my call sign. What a giant compliment.
I think that's really
cool. And also, well, not only that, but, he was trying to sort of absorb my legacy and potential, which he couldn't do because he was a weak link. But anyway, do you have any more questions about military call signs?
I don't. I just wanted to let you know that your oyster problem was caused by, I just remembered, it's called red tide. Took me a minute. Red tide.
Oh. Well, why don't I write a book, because as soon as I get back from Operation Classified, I'm hoping that Denise and I will write 11 more books in my series of books called Shake Hands with the Devil, because a lot of the people in the Khazarian Mafia and the New World Order and the Deep State and the British Royals and the Jesuits in the Vatican have made a contract with the devil, and, I intend to expose all that stuff. So Denise is not here right now. She's over in England, but she'll be coming back soon. And when she comes back, maybe she and I will start writing a book called Red Tide, or at least put it in the book that we're already going to write. I don't know if you're familiar with the CIA and the Finders.
Yes, I am.
But, okay, good.
Yeah.
Because one of our titles for the next 9 or 11 books is Finders Keepers.
Yeah.
And even though you didn't ask, let me tell you what that's about. But on November 7th of 1969 in Baltimore, Maryland, a Catholic nun named Catherine with a C, Catherine spelt with a C, and her last name is Cesnik, she was murdered for the benefit and protection of a Catholic priest at a Baltimore Catholic girls' school, where the Catholic priest himself was in charge of the school, and he had abused over 100 high school girls. And, you know, if somebody had asked me back in 1980 or 85, you know, what I'd like to do for the rest of my life, I may have said, well, I'd like to chase skirts and drink martinis. Well, that's no longer true. However, having said that, I understand his motivation to abuse these girls, but I don't respect it. Mm-hmm. Those girls, all 100 plus of them, were somebody's daughter,
exactly,
somebody's sister, and would someday be somebody's mother. Mm-hmm. And so when they killed this Catholic nun on the 7th of November of 1969, and they put her body in a 1966 black Lincoln in the trunk, they probably never knew or never would suspect or have any reason to believe that someday I would have a 1966 black Lincoln, which I've had since 1991.
Yeah.
And so what I find in the world is that try as much as the bad people or the evil people want to do damage, God himself will expose the truth.
Yeah, amen to that.
Yeah, and so it's not a matter of me telling the truth. It's not a matter of anyone else. But, you know, God doesn't need any help. God has quite a legion, Legion, of angels. And I'm not saying that I'm an angel. I will say that my wife, Denise, has been an angel to me, at least. But my wife, who's an angel, and she'll be coming back from England in the next week or so because we have to go down to Dallas together. And the reason she would be in England is because her only child, whose name I will not mention, but I think that you, Mrs. Gladys, know his name.
Yes, I do.
She's been splitting her time between England with her son and Plum City, Wisconsin with her husband. And the fact that she's willing to involve herself in my world makes her an angel to me, because could I do this by myself? Yeah, I think I could. But I don't know I could because I've never had to. Because my wife, Denise, Irene Clark McConnell, has been an angel to me, and I really appreciate her a great deal. Is there anything else you need to ask me about military call signs or plungers or red tide?
That was a very funny story. Thank you for making me laugh. No, let's just call this one a wrap. What do you think?
No, I think that's fine.
I'm putting it out. Toilets, potty story and all. How's that?
Oh, I think so. And if you wish to edit any word or plurality of words because you think I was too colorful, you won't offend me. But the point is, when some grown male, and when that happened, I would have been about 37. When you sit on a toilet and unload about 12 pounds of liquefied oysters, and then you overflow the toilet, it can be quite a colorful recollection for years down the road, and that's where my call sign plunger came from.
It's funny how that is. I just find it all funny. So
I
like the smoke one too that your son picked. I like that call sign too. So
well, yeah. And my son Cole was 7 when he selected that call sign, and from that call sign, I often have thought about the cliche, at least in America, maybe North America, or maybe the English-speaking world. But there's a cliche called "smoke 'em if you got 'em," and that's talking about first and foremost cigarettes, and secondly, if there's bad people and you have the ability to rain on their parade and make them go away, that's called smoking them. And when I flew F-16s, if there was anything that needed to be shot, I would gladly shoot it with or without permission, because in the United States military, and I presume the militaries of all the powerful world, the Russians, the Japanese, the French, the Germans, the Dutch, the Saudi Arabians, but we have a hierarchy and we have a communication schedule where you have to say certain things to get permission to launch a weapon. I always thought, that's a bunch of baloney, because if I'm the only guy in this airplane and I think I need to launch a weapon, I'm not going to ask permission.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and launch it, and then if it doesn't hit the target, I'll launch another one. And then if somebody in the chain of command doesn't like it, I will beg forgiveness, and they can either forgive me or they can penalize me.
Yeah.
But if you penalize me, you'd be taking out an asset to the United States military.
Yeah.
Because I was willing to project force to protect Americans or American geography, meaning land targets. And there was never a question in my mind what I would do if I had the opportunity to defend my country, as is demanded of me in my oath of office, to protect America and the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And in my 26-year military career, the only enemies I ever engaged were domestic, like Dick Cheney, George H.W. Bush, John McCain, my own sister, Christine Marcy, and a bunch of other traitors. And, I'm happy with my life, and when my life is over, I'm even happier about where I'm going, because I will be going up to heaven to, discuss this with my mother and my father and my relatives who've gone on before me.
Amen.
Anything else I can tell you, Mrs. Gladys?
No, it's a good day. And thank you again.
Okay.
Thank you always. I always love these recordings. So, it'll go into my collection for later. So thank you, dear sir, and I will let you go.
Okay, well, I'm going to go downtown in this place where I live, because as you know, it's November and there's football games being played, some being played via replay, some being played live, but I work about 15 to 18 hours a day, but I need to get away from the office, so to speak. So I will talk to you whenever you wish to talk to me, and you have my number, okay?
Thank you. Good night, and or I should say good afternoon, but I'll say good night and God bless.
Yeah, God bless you too. God's going to win this for all of us.
Yes.
Not just for Ipswich in England or the Vancouver area of British Columbia or where I'm located or Dallas, Texas, but God knows who we are, and God knows not only what we have done, good and bad, but He also knows who the oppressors are. And in both Luke 4:18 and in Isaiah 61, God talks about freeing those who've been oppressed, like myself and like you. So God bless you. Good night, and I will talk to you whenever you wish to chat.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Night-night.
Night-night.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.